All right, I will go ahead and call the meeting to order. We'll start with the roll call. McKee here, Lanterman here, Bottoма,
Here in a t-shirt.
Barrington
Here.
Nichols.
Here.
Perfect. And we will, if you'd like to stand and join in the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. On to agenda approval. Is there anything from staff? Looks like there's the one update.
Yes, Mayor. The only update is item 5B. We had both of those resolutions under that item have updated language, which you should have there at the dais.
Perfect. Anything from council? I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second, or
So
sure, I'll do it. I'll do whatever you ask.
I'll second the. There we go. I think we got that.
Already going crazy.
Barrington Bottom.
Mayor and Council, if I could ask one thing, the person who's doing our minutes has asked if, Mayor, if you could repeat who made the motion and who did the second, that would.
Barrington first.
Bottom by Barrington.
We could just say it.
We'll do that.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing
all
our
those in
minutes.
favor say aye.
Aye.
Perfect. On to open forum. Jake, you want to walk us through that?
Ladies and gentlemen, if anyone wants to speak on something not on the agenda, please walk up to the microphone, share what it is that you have to say, and speak to the dais. Mayor, I have received no cards at this point for the open forum, and we have no comments online.
How many online folks do we have? Okay, welcome you
And one of
guys.
them is a staff member.
Okay. Is the other one Jeremy? Sometimes it happens.
Yeah, Jeremy's logged in.
Let's see here. On to consent agenda, which consists of items 5A through 5K. And I wrote 7 actually on my agenda because I'm used to that. Does anyone want to pull anything?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I have 4, 5B,
Okay.
5F, 5H, and 5J. And I'll do my best to make three of the 4 as fast as possible.
Okay. Anyone else want to pull anything?
Can I speak during open forum?
We already had it, but we can.
Can we pause for just a second?
Sure.
So we can thank Jackson, Jacob, and Danny for the awesome job they did.
Yeah.
Night to night. I know we're gonna have a special presentation, but it just happened and they were the key people and it went really well.
Great night.
It was awesome.
I don't wanna have this go by without thanking them.
Thanks for.
I forgot.
Appreciate you bringing that up. Yeah, it was a great night and appreciate everyone who was involved, from residents to staff to Lions to everyone. It made it, without everyone on board, it couldn't have been as great as it was. So fantastic night.
And Bucky said, give them the credit. She obviously was a big part too. Anyway, sorry, Dean.
Nope, you were all over it.
So you had, Dean, you had.
I was
B,
gonna do that towards the end, so.
You had B, F, H, and J.
5B, 5F, 5H, and 5J.
Okay, anyone else have anything to pull? One once, twice, sold, okay. I will approve or entertain a motion to approve consent agenda items A, C, D, E, G, I, and K.
Bottom up.
Letterman. You just said your names.
Yeah.
Yeah, as motion and second.
That's implied.
So yeah. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nichols.
Okay, Dean, do you want to walk us through your 4 starting with B?
Just clarification, and Kevin, I hope you can help me with this. On page 5 of 8,
This on B.
on 5B, yes, I'll go from top
On the
down.
new resolution, like the updated one?
It's just the way things were worded. I want clarity, obviously, for the people on Hunter's Ridge. It's that second paragraph there, while not part of the bellwether 10th condition specifically, staff is aware questions frequently arise over timing of the connection to Hunter's Ridge. I understand and everything else is there. Once one of those 96 units out of the 120 are occupied, I'm assuming. That is when that Hunter's Ridge constructed, okay, that is when Hunter's Ridge would open. Is that right?
That's when the restriction, the condition that they have to rebuild Hunter's Ridge if they use it gets lifted. So
If they use it before,
if they use it for construction before 96 homes are built, then they would have that condition in their master agreement where they would have that street improvement project.
okay,
So if they at 96 homes or 80%, then that condition's eliminated. So then they would be basically entitled to use that road with
okay,
no penalty if you're calling that improvement project a penalty, for lack of a better word.
all right. But then they're still on the hook for the intersection of Hunter's Ridge and 116.
That's a whole separate project. Yes, that turn lanes is a separate, is a full requirement.
Yeah.
No matter what.
When is our current plan to put on a new, how do I want to say it? Redo Hunter's Ridge. We've got 25 years from start to the life and a overlay or something like that. Is that still in the plans, but we're just pushing that out until this gets done? What are we doing?
So if you recall, we actually kind of have an open feasibility study approved for that street.
Right,
And with all the projects surrounding it, it made sense for staff to kind of just pause that.
okay,
If you recall the Northeast Infrastructure Project, which is our third phase of our water supply project, that's gonna be kicking off here in a couple of weeks. We didn't really know what was happening with that, so we just kind of paused it. So we'll be able to re-engage that conversation of what improvements we want to invest in on that original piece of Hunter's
all right.
Ridge between 116 and Bellwether.
And then at that time, there would be a normal assessment for
Depends on the
up to
project.
a certain amount.
If it's an if it's an overlay project, that street's still eligible for a free overlay. If you
Okay.
recall, we have a free overlay. There's a free overlay condition still. I'll call it in our plan.
Okay,
So we've always followed that plan, so would have to deviate from that, but right now they're on the free overlay
all right,
list. So if we do the feasibility and it warrants more than a free, or if we think it warrants it, then we'd have to have a conversation on what to do. That would fall into the Corcoran Trail East-West project that we did a couple of years ago, if you recall. That was a free overlay street, eligible street. We wanted to do more than that because we thought there was value in it. There was an assessment.
Okay.
We did a neighborhood thing. It was
we
a
would,
very positive project for folks that didn't do it, but there was an assessment and there was a credit for we baked in the credit for the free overlay.
So we-
didn't lose it.
you've kind of set a precedence with that project
The council-
or something like this, or we did. Okay, all right. Nope, that clears that up for me and such. So cool. Thank you for that time.
I had an item on this one too.
Okay.
So I had raised this and I don't think we've gotten the entirety of the answer yet. As part of this approval, we're accepting 0.06 acres of net park dedication. Typically on the final plat, I'm accustomed to seeing some level of cash in lieu if there's not a significant amount of land. But because there's so many phases, we may have already collected all that we needed to. So I just wanted to confirm with staff that there's no further dedication that we're due.
So this question was raised as we were coming up to this, and it's important to note the original PUD that was approved in 2018 had conditions talking about the long-term plan related to that. We were not able, staff believes that that's the case, that it meets the intent. If it did not, and we had to do it, we would have to redo the development agreement. And staff is concerned at this point that there's legal ramifications of trying to redo a 2018 agreement. Our lawyer was not in the office this week, so we were not able to confirm that. So that's our understanding is the conditions have been met. If we needed to go back and change it, because they weren't, it could be very problematic.
So we think that they've given everything they're supposed to give. Is that correct?
And on page 7 of what I'm reading, that's what was written in here. I can read it. It's park dedication for the Bellwood Room will be satisfied to the combination of land construction of the private amenity center and associated improvements, trail easements, pavement of trails and construction of the boardwalk. Bellwether 10 to be the final phase. Park dedication in this phase includes dedication of 0.06 acres of trail easement to satisfy the park dedication.
So this is the last little bit then.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
With that, I'll make a motion to,
5B.
approve 5B. That's Camp.
Nichols, second.
Okay, and, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, 5F, Dean.
5F, I know we'll probably do this, but as John did so well about 19 Unite, I want to thank Ken for everything he's done for our city, from mayor, from all of this stuff. So I want it on the record too. Now, early, his resignation, his love and such for our watershed is very, very easy to identify, very apparent, and I wanted to thank him for that. So that was all I wanted to do on that one.
Are we gonna recognize him?
Yes, we will.
Will he be here?
I believe he's coming in that one.
He's got one more to come.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think it would be a nice gesture as part of City Park Remaster that we dedicate a tree in the wetland area.
In the wetland area, a willow.
Looking at something like that. But yeah,
On the
Right,
approval,
probably
It's like a swamp oak or.
Yeah.
You would love
it
that.
would be big shoes to fill on that commission.
Yep.
For sure, he's done a ton. He's
Yeah, he was the
uniquely passionate for the watershed.
He's
Yes.
easily the best mayor we've ever had.
Absolutely. Way better than the current.
To date?
I'm just kidding. Tom.
So with that, thank you for letting me do that. I'll make a motion to approve 5F.
Second, Nichols.
So that's Camp and Nichols. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And.
5H,
5H.
I read and I'm a little confused. Is there a timeline on the boardwalk? I know there's still planning and those kind of things, but a lot came out of the 2 bellwether visits I made for 19 Night. Many of the folks asking about that, but understanding they very much understood what was going on, but is there a timeline on when that would be completed?
I think, I can't give you a definitive timeline.
Okay.
We've made some progress in understanding the kind of baseline conditions. We've worked with the developer. That's where we're at. That was included in here in the update.
Yep.
We're currently reviewing kind of their proposal response. Once that's done, once that's ready, the next step would be to go back to the Parks and Trails Commission to basically finalize that. Potentially have a conversation of if we want more, what that would look like. And that was kind of how it was packaged in the original master agreement. It was kind of
Yep.
undefined boardwalk. So maybe some lessons learned there, but I think we've made progress in kind of narrowing it down. I know the city's interested in getting it built as soon as possible. And I believe the developers here, I think I'm comfortable saying they would like to get it built as soon as possible to fulfill their commitment. So we're kind of holding on that. I think over the next 4 to 6 weeks, we have a better timeline. And when
Okay.
that would happen.
That's all right.
As I can pass through you guys for the final approval.
Instead of saying something now, as you get closer, the
Progress
folks
has been
were,
made.
the folks were very understanding.
So
So,
it's still one of those type of projects you'd like to, or need to do in the fall, winter, spring.
Yeah, I mean, it can.
especially with the amount
Lower
of
water conditions.
water we've got.
So this is, but, yeah, I think just moving it forward and then it will
Okay.
unpackage itself, but
All right,
progress has been made. I think a better update should get in a month or 2, we should better be able to answer that question.
okay, that's what I was looking for is something. I'll let the folks know that I talked to there. So with that 5H, I'll make a motion to
So
approve.
we don't need to act on that one.
Hmm?
There's no action necessary on that one, I believe.
Yeah, that was all the information on it.
Okay. And then 5J, we've got an update. I think I'm crystal clear on that, but the last time we had a fee schedule update, we kind of had a mess on the industrial side of sewer and water fees and stuff, are we confident that won't happen this time?
So this one, there was only one fee that was added and it's highlighted in the packet
Okay.
in order to clarify what it was.
Nope, I saw that. And same thing there. Thanks for letting me pull it. If I
And
need
to
to.
clarify, the reason that was with the change of structure with the community development department, our current fee structure didn't appropriately charge to accomplish what it needed to for expenses. With that new position that was created, it was undercharging, and so we needed to adjust fees appropriately.
And it was just the one line then.
Just
So
one line.
perfect. Nope, I just wanted that too. So
Sounds good.
with that, do we need to
Want to make a motion on
say,
that?
I'll make a motion to say okay to 5J. Thank you for your time,
Jeremy
everybody.
Camp made the motion. Do we have a second?
Second, Nichols.
Nichols, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and that brings us through consent agenda on to planning business. We have a public hearing for item 6A, which is the bellwether easement vacation. And let's see here, do we want to do, we have a presentation we want to do first, or should we do the public hearing first?
I'll do the three slides for the easement first. Then
Let's do that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Before you tonight is the vacation of the drainage and utility easements over Outlot P Bellwether 8th edition. This is a public hearing tonight. This is tied to the request that was passed as part of the consent or pulled it passed for Bellwether 10th. As the easements are no longer needed as that area is being developed. So the new easements that are needed for the drainage and utility are being provided with the new plat with Bellwether 10th edition. The city engineer has no objections to this request. So the area you see is Outlot B has an entire drainage and utility easement over it. It will be vacated and then the necessary drainage and utility easements will be put in place for the 10th edition.
Is this the public hearing?
No,
No,
this is the
Not
presentation before
just
that.
the
I'll
staff
open up after
presentation,
this.
so with the background and then we can go to the public hearing.
Oh.
So the recommendation, as you saw in the staff report, is to adopt resolution 2024-89, approving the easement vacation for Bellwether 10th edition for Outlot B of the 8th edition.
Sounds good, thank you. Is there something you wanted to say before I?
No, I was just, I don't,
Just clarifying.
no, I was prepared to make a motion. We
Oh,
before
gotcha.
he-
Gotcha.
Yeah, we gotta open the.
I will go ahead and open the public hearing if anyone would like to speak on this issue. Going once, going twice. All right, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved, Barry Camp.
Second, Nichols.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Perfect. And then, can I get a motion on?
I'll make a motion, bottom up,
Perfect. That is just to clarify,
improving the what Kevin said to do.
resolution 2024-89. Do you have a second?
Second, Barry Camp.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. On to item 7. Which is unfinished business. We have a public comment opportunity for 2 items, which is 7A and 7B. 7A is the discussion on the solicitation ordinance and 7B is the city cropland update.
Mayor, we have one comment card from Ms. Carolyn Holford on item 7A.
Go right ahead. You could just state your name and address for the record, that'd be great.
Hi, Carolyn.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome.
Carolyn Hartford. I live at 9220 Foxline Drive here in Corcoran. I would like to say is on or about July 14th, our neighborhood in Corcoran experienced a severe thunderstorm with hail. Over the course of the following week, we had 5 salesmen from 4 different roofing contractors knocking on our door to ask us if we wanted a free roof inspection to look for hail damage. One contractor stopped a second time, even after we told him we were not interested. They descended on us like vultures. These unscrupulous roofing contractors are a primary reason why homeowners insurance deductibles for roof replacements are so high. Now, the draft, there was a draft ordinance, peddlers, solicitors, transient merchants, or door-to-door advocates was discussed with the city council in 2011 and again on 2022. Thank you for bringing this issue up again for discussion. Hopefully we can wrap this up this year and get an ordinance passed. The issues that should be addressed, or I hopefully will have addressed, are registered solicitors and peddlers and do background checks. These permit fees will cover expensive, administrative costs. If residents post a quote, no solicitation sign, it must be respected. Better yet, create a no solicitation list of residents who want to be opt out of solicitation, similar to the no call list, and provide it to solicitors. The 2011 draft ordinance was modeled after the Medina's current ordinance and is available online. Again, I'd like to thank the members that responded to our emails, my husband and myself email. I do want to note that Mark Latterman's comment also made it important for this ordinance to pass. If I could read your comment to me,
Sure.
to us. You stated in your email, I'm not gonna read it all, just the point that I wanna make as far as how this ordinance is important for the city of Corcoran to be safe. He reads, I had a similar experience a while ago and brought my concerns to a previous administration roofer, who knocked on my door, turned out to be a convicted felon with a history of kidnap and assault. This underscores the importance of regulating who is allowed to solicit in our community. And I have also heard other stories from other communities about how these people that are not registered with the cities can be criminals, can take advantage of not only us as people, but as the older people as well. Because when they come to your door, there's no way to know who these people really are. They can tell you what they are, but they can't. If they're not telling us as a community who they are, there's no way that anybody's gonna do background checks. So, yeah, I just think it's important that we get this taken care of right now. Because it's not gonna get better, it's only gonna get worse. So I thank everybody for listening, and I hope this can be resolved this year.
And if I could just thank you for coming out, you should not be afraid to answer your door in Corcoran.
Well, and I know that, I, as a resident here, and I know my rights as an individual in this America. We have now put up a no soliciting sign on our property. So, not everybody's gonna know their rights. Not everybody's gonna do what they need to do to protect their private property. And, I had one time where, some gentleman was next door, taking pictures of my neighbor's house. And I didn't know who he was, and I'm sure my neighbors would have told me that this person would have been taking pictures, because I know that. I know my neighborhood. And so I asked him, and he looked at me, he said, it's none of your business. So I took pictures of him, gave them to my neighbors, and she said, I don't know who this person is. And he even went around the back door. So this is what I'm saying, we need to make sure our neighborhoods are safe. But we need to have ordinances to make sure that the residents and the city make it so. So with that, I pass. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Just real quick, something that I did, and I don't know if I've shared with anybody, and if I'm in trouble, so be it. I'm a big boy, but I have a no soliciting sign on my end of my driveway. My driveway is 900 feet long. One of those folks came down my driveway. I met him at their car. I made the comment, did you not see the no soliciting sign? No, I saw it. I said, guess what? Our city has an ordinance that you owe me $25 for disobeying that sign right now. And he's like, really? I said, yep. You owe me 25. And then he proceeded, well, I'm down here because I said, you owe me another $25 because you're trying to sell me something I already told you I didn't want, and I don't care what it is. He turned his car on, drove around or turned around in my driveway and left. So don't know if that affected anybody or made him leave our city, but I very much agree with your sign, and that's kind of the way I work on my property, but it is not nice. Mark's story, we heard about that way back when it came, not something that we want in our city. And I agree, we need to do something. So,
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
If I could, this sample ordinance, I believe, is a template from the League of Minnesota Cities.
Mhm.
yeah,
I would urge staff to review the Medina or non-solicitation ordinance. I think it is much more clear. It is certainly better written. And I think that it addresses what I think we want addressed. For one example, in the League of Minnesota Cities version, under section 8, prohibited activities. Under D, it says conducting business before 8 a.m. or after 9 a.m. Someone knocks at my door at 9 a.m. I think for their safety, that
AM or PM?
or PM.
Thank you.
Someone comes knocking at my door at 9 p.m., they have a safety issue. And I think that we should look to Medina's more reasonable times of 9 to 6, I believe it is.
I'm in the LMC after model too. I might have missed it, but do they actually do a criminal they don't have, to my knowledge, they don't have an actual criminal background check required to get a peddler license.
In Medina?
No, I'm
Or
talking
the-
about
or
the LMC
the
template.
city.
Yeah.
That was one thing I would.
It is discussed in the.
If the
informational
application
packet.
is complete, the city clerk must order any investigation, including background checks necessary to verify the information provided with the application. It's under E on page 3 of the model ordinance.
Yeah, but it doesn't say anything. There's a background check. So if they're to verify information that's, oh, okay, so it does include the criminal side within the last 5 years and gross misdemeanor and misdemeanor and that kind of stuff listed above it. Okay, so I did miss it.
You want me to go through a brief
Sure.
presentation on it, or if we don't have a public hearing and do a staff presentation on it?
We don't have a public hearing tonight on.
Okay, no, I'm sorry, the public comment period.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
So again, this is the narrative that was last talked about in April 2022. Staff was given direction to go forward and the starting point with that model policy at the time. Also directed to try and simplify the placard requirements, make that a little bit easier for our residents, and also look into explore standardizing what that notice looks like for the no solicitation. I think the feedback then and what I'm hearing the feedback now is to regulate to the degree legally permissible. And one of the reasons that we included the model ordinance and the guidance from LMC is it has been updated since then. There's a fine line to walk because the level to which you can regulate each of those different types varies depending on whether they're peddlers, whether they're solicitors, whether they're transient merchants, whether they're canvassers. And that also would change what our ability to investigate them or prohibit them. So we look at the protections that we would need to thread with this ordinance, and we're they're making sure that we're protecting the rights for interstate commerce, freedom of speech, equal protection, freedom of religion, but also protecting our residents to the greatest extent possible. And so I guess what we're looking for tonight is that overarching direction that you guys are looking for, or that you guys have been providing as far as regulate to the fullest extent that we can legally permissibly do that. Simplify the placard requirements, consider reducing the hours. There is, there has been, and not specifically around the hours, but conversation or concern about how far cities can deviate from this without creating legal exposure. So I think we would look at working with our city attorney to get their recommended application of what you're telling us tonight. How far are we comfortable without creating exposure and regulating this? And incorporating as much feedback as you have. So that's what we're looking for tonight, is hearing loud and clear, go forward, and looking for the overarching direction. And we can certainly try and bring back something in line with what you're telling us.
So I would, and perhaps you already had seen Medina's. I reviewed it the other day in preparation for tonight's hearing. But there are some, I think, very reasonable carve outs to their statute or to their code that I think will address some of the concerns that perhaps the city attorney may have. But I guess I would argue, I think that the safety of our residents should come first. And if some magazine peddler knocking at my door at 9 o'clock at night wants to sue me or sue the city, I say, go for it. And I'll pay that bill. You know, I just feel very strongly that this is a safety issue. And, you know, I would urge you to be as tight on the code and enforce the code the best you can.
I think the modified Green River with the exclusion by placard would be my preferred approach. So my primary concern is what happens when somebody is violating. You've done what you're supposed to do. You've got the placard up. The placard is as wordy and ugly as it needs to be effective. What actually happens to the person who knocks anyway? Can there be any kind of penalty imposed because they're licensed? We know who they are. You've got a ring camera picture showing them knocking on your door. You can see the no soliciting sign in the background. Is that enough to do something effective? Or is this going to be a situation where they get on their Segway and they go half a mile away and nothing ever happens to them?
So typically, you know, this would likely be a first violation would be a misdemeanor. In Hennepin County, especially, first time offense on misdemeanors isn't typically a jailable offense. Back in the day, on some of the more restrictive policies, there were cities that took that hardline stance and faced some exposure to having the arrest and take downtown on the first offense. It doesn't go well. And I think we want to mitigate. I think we want to be as strict as we can, but mitigate the cost to our residents of lawsuits and things like that as well. So if they continue to violate, I think the first violation typically is making sure that they're complying and making sure that we're changing the behavior. If appropriate, a citation. And if there's a repeat offense, I think we can begin to make the case that they are continuing to violate. And then as you get down that road, if you can explicitly articulate what the risk is to the community continuing to violate, there could become a point where you could potentially jail someone for continuing to break the law. Our county and our judges,
They don't put people in jail for anything.
Yeah.
So good luck.
so I think
Unless you're a police officer.
That's
So with our rental ordinance, we developed a strike system. And the strike is assessed against the license. And I'm wondering if there's some similar mechanism you could apply here where, and I don't know what the burden of proof is, right? Does a police officer need to see the person at the home still there after having been told not to come? If they're still hanging around on the porch, then they get a citation.
they would have to witness it. Correct.
So is there a way to set up a system where there's some kind of an assessed penalty without that actually happening? Because the police are busy. They're not going to get there in the 3 minutes that the person is arguing with me about.
Why would the police have to witness it? That there are all kinds of crimes that can be charged without a police officer.
There's limitations on unwitnessed misdemeanors, so you can, and it's gonna depend on what it is. So, you know, usually the ability to which you can take action for an unwitnessed misdemeanor is a lot more limited than if you did not witness it.
But the homeowner could sign that complaint.
They could sign the complaint. I mean, typically you see that application, regardless of the signed complaint, you see that as trespassing as effective, or we've seen that occasionally in shoplifting for the unwitnessed theft, but there are carve-outs for that. I'd have to see, I don't know if that's been tried or tested, the carve-outs for solicitation for the unwitnessed misdemeanor signed complaint. If that same.
You can look into that.
Over, but
when you're
I think
ready.
looking at the strike system, and certainly if, you know, I believe that while they might not witness it, they might not be able to cite the first time they get there, if the person's no longer on your porch. If they encounter them on the street and the police officer warns them that they, for engaging in that behavior, and then they continue to do it, if they can, you know, find those subsequent violations, I think they're more empowered to be able to take stronger action at that point. But to your point, we'd have to, I think the strike system could maybe reinforce what the action points are.
Could a strike system trigger payment against the bond that they would need to carry under the ordinance?
I'd have to defer to our city attorney on that.
My guidance is I would like to see this be structured in a way that there's actually a realistic consequence for violation. Not that we want to be unnecessarily punitive to people who are maybe ignorant the first time. We don't want, you know, Girl Scouts getting tickets.
Well, there
but-
was language that.
Girl
specifically,
Scouts,
like,
FHA,
carved out for stuff like that.
FFA,
Yeah, we look for.
the other people that comes down my driveway that
I think we
I
got,
give money.
we
Do
got,
one at a time, John.
sorry.
No, I mean, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, we got bogged down in the last time on what we can't do instead of what we can. And I just don't want to let that stand in the way of having something written.
Can we add to our Corcoran sign? Solicitation not welcome, not allowed, something strong.
On the water
Akin
tower,
to, like what the Lions do.
Welcome to Corcoran. Yeah,
It's
yeah, let's put up a
1855.
big sign.
Yeah.
You are not welcome
Let's
here.
have Mark-
Go away.
It,
Anyhow,
if I could, perhaps we consider a reasonable application fee to help fund the background checks. I would like, and I would recommend that fee be $200. And maybe if they get away on their Segway, you'll catch them on your flock camera.
We'll see, and I'll see if there's any case law with our city attorney. Sometimes a lot of times they'll limit that to actual cost incurred, so we might have to prove that fee. But we can try and work on those exercises as to what we believe is a good position for proving.
Since the modified Green River model ordinance doesn't require registration for canvassing activity, does a no solicitation sign under that model still prevent canvassers?
I don't believe we can prevent canvassers. I believe that's protected free speech activity, but I think that's gonna be, how restrictive we can be is gonna be. We'll spell it out with our city attorney.
I get the free speech angle. My concern is if somebody has a sign at their front door that says, maybe the special word is no canvassing rather than no soliciting. But there should be a mechanism to trigger that this is not welcome. And the guidance from the league seemed to indicate that you could bar people from your property for the purposes of canvassing. I don't know if you can enforce it criminally, but we could make that understanding.
You know, it can escalate from the criminal standpoint that if they're prohibited, the sign certainly furthers under the trespassing ordinance that requires notification or warning. And if they're there, that wouldn't quite meet the trespass, but I think certainly verbalizing that any continuing to be there could get into that trespassing realm.
could people opt, could we have a blanket, no, whatever, and have people opt in if they want to be?
Don't know if we
Solicited.
could under especially under the interstate commerce, people's having, you know, a right to be able to.
I'm just spitballing ideas.
Yeah, well, I think those are good things to try and start from. I'll start there with the city attorney and see how far he pushes that.
Can I interject something here, please?
Please.
Please come up so you can be heard.
Again, I'm Carolyn Holbert. I have talked to a lot of people outside of the, community, even in where I'm from, Wisconsin. And they say, so long as the city of municipality, has an ordinance and it's, to your liking. The general public, the private individuals can have signs. Matter of fact, I bought a sign that says no soliciting, and that even means political, whatever, because this is my property. Whatever the city decides is up to the city and however the laws pertain to what you're doing. But as a private individual, I have a right because it's my private property. And if it says private property, no soliciting, that means they have to abide by it. And yes, in some cities, and in some states, the private individuals that have land that say private property, if somebody comes on your property for peddling or whatever it is, you have a right then to charge them with, invading your private property.
That's not how, in Minnesota, there are certain
Right.
trespass laws that as far as
That's what I'm
notice is
saying.
required, but yeah, I mean, certainly you can sign your property as you believe is appropriate.
Mhm.
As you so choose to. What our ability to take legal action and rooted in the state statute does vary from state to state. And it depends on if we're falling under, if their conduct is violating this ordinance, which will have different standards for solicitors than canvassers. Then if they don't fall under solicitor regulation, we would look at how we can regulate them under the canvasser. And if they have permissibility under this ordinance as a canvasser, then we will begin to look at how we can apply trespass or other applicable laws.
And as an officer, I found that, one situation that I was in, that somebody did something, I videotaped it, called the police. I don't remember who came, from the police station, but they said I didn't witness it. And I said, well, it just so happens I videotaped it. And then after he saw the videotape of what happened on my property, then he went and talked to the individual. So you don't necessarily have to see it, but if I have a video to prove my point, then you can take care of it from that point.
Yes, so that would be considered like a long form complaint. So we would provide that data to the city attorney. They could consider charges at that point, but as we're looking at whether or not custodial arrest is permissible.
Right.
Witnessing or not witnessing does make a difference.
But you can give them a
level
warning.
of crime. Yeah.
You know, and that's what I'm trying to tell people is we don't know our rights until you as a city help us determine what we as a city can do and what we as residents can do.
There's also like, I just want to be clear on, you are correct about your rights as an individual landowner,
Mhm.
but sometimes there's a difference between a criminal activity and a civil activity
Correct.
too.
Yeah.
So, you can push it as an individual too. You're not limited to using law enforcement. You can also go after people
Yes, I can take. it.
civilly, but yeah, and that's an option too, but we can't always, like, the police department can't always interject or they can never really interject on a civil issue, but that doesn't mean it's not within your right to continue that on a civil.
Yes, but it's up to that's to the city to educate the residents as far as their rights and what the city can do for us.
Yeah,
to
I
keep us
mean,
safe.
that's what we don't even, we still gotta write it and educate people based on their own kind of. It would be a newsletter thing.
Yeah.
Potentially.
And I would say from an execution standpoint that there's some capacity things, because this obviously since it has a licensing component, a lot of the process part of this resides in the clerk's office. We're in a transitional period there, we're doing an election. So I think the instructions are clear, but the execution is gonna have to involve the clerk's office, with the city attorney and make sure that they're along for that. And that could create some time constraints. Certainly we want to get it moving to, but on the burner for too long in the back.
Yeah, staff was talking about that, and with our city clerk not coming on until later this month, and with the national election coming up in November, in which we're expecting a lot of walk-ins coming in prior to that date. Our clerk is going to be very, very busy, preoccupied with that, and so would ask for patience. I suspect that after they recover the week after the election, this could become a focus of activity, but until then, we really don't have the capacity to give it the attention it deserves.
It'll take us that long to get the ordinance done,
Yeah,
I would imagine.
to get through a public hearing, draft and public hearing and all that.
Well, procedurally, to Matt's point, we really need clerk input in terms of the nuts and bolts of how to execute it. And the analysis required to provide that procedural input. We don't have that capacity between now and the election. For that particular role. And I'd be remiss to tell them how to suck the egg. if I don't know how.
So we can focus on what's enforceable, the legal questions we've been
Correct.
discussing, and that part figured out, but the
Yeah.
administration of the system needs to still be defined.
Right.
Yeah, we could just call Medina and say, hey, how do you do it?
I'm happy to ask their mayor when I see her next. I think I talked to her one time about it a couple years ago, and there wasn't any issues of note that came up about it that they were having problems with or anything, so.
It certainly would discourage people if we had an ordinance. I think it.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that's also heard is effective is the waiting period. You know, we have a duty to respond in a timely fashion as government, but also outlining what that response period is for the application. You know, a lot of times, especially when you have the transient folks from out of state that come to, that will chase storms and follow them through, they're typically on to the next storm that, as we're appropriately processing, if there's you know, that we're building in enough time to make sure that we're thorough, it will automatically discourage some of those people that are looking to scam a quick buck.
Well, take your time.
Sounds good. I will, I'll make a motion to direct staff to develop an ordinance along the lines of the discussion we've had.
Second, Aaron,
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
For what it's worth, because it's a true statement, I had a custom sign made, says, please do not ring on or knock or ring, sleeping baby, tired mother, and 2 crazy dogs. And it's pretty effective. I think we've seen a lot of people come up and read that and then back away. They don't want to see my wife pissed when the baby wakes up because the dogs are barking, so.
I have a sign.
Yeah,
Says no solicitation by order of Smith and Wesson.
yeah,
that'll do it too.
I like that one.
Ring at your own risk.
Thank you. We may make light of it, but it is a very serious thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And what I would love, if we could do an ordinance related to people calling to check on my roof and stuff like that, so. Call our.
Tell them you're a contractor, that's what I do in there.
Call our folks, they'll advise you on what they can do. so.
Well, there is a federal law.
Yep.
that, consumer that nobody knows about. It's 1991.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, I always ask them, have we done business before? And they try to avoid the question. And I said, no, just say yes or no. Have we done business before? And then they'll say, well, no, I don't think so. I said, then you have no business calling me. And I will then tell them the quote about the federal Consumer Trade Commission, act, and they hang up real quick.
Yeah, they'll call you back
There
the
are
next
people who've
day.
made a lot of money off that law.
Yep,
Oh, I know. Yeah. Well,
thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
All right, and we'll go on to our last item in unfinished business, 7B, city cropland update. And Kevin.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So it's just to follow up, an ongoing conversation about what to do with some of the property that the city owns primarily on the northwestern side of City Park, and then just north of City Hall here on the east side of County Road 116. So, probably a couple months ago now, we kind of had an interim solution To knock down some of the weeds, and now this fall, we want to capitalize on maybe some sort of more permanent solution that would minimize costs over time. So included in this packet and primarily focus maybe on the 116 property, at least at a staff level. Our 4 programs that we met with different agencies, primarily led by Hennepin County, just related to options, for some sort of, vegetation project. And really it's just direction. Do any of the information provided, are they attractive to the city? Is it something you want us to pursue here and bring back? Any other ideas? We're just trying to continue that conversation of how do we maybe permanently, not permanently, but like more effectively control and maintain those properties until we have a different use going.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Real quick, when I briefly read over this, is Hennepin County willing to pay for some of the costs to do this?
Yeah, I think depending on what program, they're all a little bit variable, but, you know, maybe I think staff recommended the second option.
Yeah,
I know 90% cost share, I think the watershed might offset a little bit. We'd have to go through the application process. I did meet with their rep and the site, they're aware of the site and it's attractive to them for, you know, in terms of it's a grant, so.
but what happens if all of a sudden we were to have an inquiry to sell it to somebody and then all that goes away, or it would
Well,
be
there's,
preserved?
there's different levels of commitment. That number 2, the cost share probably is the lowest level of commitment. It's, the expectation is kind of 10 years. I think
Yeah.
there are some outs. The expectation is that it's at least 10 years, but that's the least restrictive. Some of them have conservation easements that you apply over the property. So there's different levels of commitment, different levels of funding, different levels of project. Most of them, we still would have some sort of maintenance cost to them. It takes a while for native plants or vegetation to establish. It's not like we're eliminating costs with most of them.
Did you make the comment, you know, if you just let us rent it out to farmers and we'll give you the money for rent, we don't have to do all of this? That went nowhere, I'm sure, if you did say
I've
something.
pled that case.
The wrong part of Hennepin County, I just, what a bunch of monkey business.
What'd you say?
I'm sorry.
What's that?
I said it's the wrong part of Hennepin.
No, what did you say? That's your first comment. If you ever won.
Brought it up.
I don't know what it
Dean
is.
said, have you ever talked to Hennepin County?
you
and told them
ever
if
asked-
They didn't require us to pay $20,000 in taxes on $4,000 of farm produce, we wouldn't have.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That's all I'm saying. I mean, it seems like we're spending a lot of time when there was nothing wrong with what we were doing originally.
They just changed their.
I know.
Interpretation of how they want to enforce
I'm
that.
hoping one of
That's
them.
something
relates
to
in.
bring to Kristen Robbins and.
I brought it
We've talked.
to anyone I can think of, and I disagree with it, but apparently it is. They're within their right to do it how they're doing it.
Yeah. Anyhow,
In reviewing the options, I liked number 4 with the idea that could this be a revenue source? I noticed under the notes, the second bullet was trees we put into a carbon credit agreement. When I see carbon credit, it makes me think there might be a revenue source there to having trees on some of those parcels. Is that accurate?
but then we
I
have to
think the
pay
caution
taxes
with
on the
Corcoran,
revenue.
that's not, it's a plan they're trying to develop, so I don't know if anything's been set yet. I think it would be a piece of property that they're very interested in. That's one that they're really excited about. I think that one, if we went that route, I think we wanna commit some long-term thing. I think we can negotiate more. And in terms of what the outcome, that program's not even finalized, so that one has maybe a longer play. If it's something we're interested in, we can engage that and find out, but at this point, I couldn't promise it's revenue.
I thought field 2 and field 3 by the park, where we're going to have that trail corridor, this would be a great way to get Hennepin County to forest it for us as well. I don't know if it would make sense for the others, or other things might need to come in at some point. But for those 2, we were gonna have the trail come. I thought that could be a really good fit.
So when we do Bark in the Park in September, one of the things we're gonna ask for feedback is, would residents be interested in potentially having field 2 become a dog park? Which then would activate that space. It would be low cost in order to convert it. and we don't have to maintain it anymore. If you look at field 2, it's not a very large space. It's adjacent to 10. It would address some of the problems that we're having, deconflicting dogs in the park. It would give people with dogs a place to go, so that they could do that.
I would
We
take
don't-
care of that field.
So that's something that we're gonna get public feedback on in September, for that public space.
You were talking mostly the properties to the north of City Hall here because of what we're doing around the properties down around the city park.
Yeah, I think just the level of commitment, the unknown, I mean, most of these programs want at least a 10-year kind of commitment to put it in there. It certainly could be considered, but I think just the proximity and the conversation's just unsettled at the
Yeah.
park. The other thing is you can do more options with the land at the park. It could vary wildly where you put different structures or uses. And the fields to the north here, they're lowland, they're floodplain. They're going to be a natural feature no matter what we do. Really the only other uses could be maybe partnering with the land around them to offset mitigation, some sort of kind of blended approach when that property develops, or a wetland bank or something, but
Yeah.
that's by the time that really develops, you're probably at the 10-year mark. So I think it's more of a reasonable area to consider a 10-year restoration if that's of interest to council. We can do other things. We can plant it with pasture. Where do we want to go with it? What's the priority? Where do you want us to spend time? It's not an easy answer. It's probably why we talked about it for 2.5 years. But we just, if there's interest in pursuing one of these grants, we would like.
I like that second option.
Do we make a motion?
Just direction for me to engage that and bring back maybe a more detailed plan with one of them, just to try to hone it down if there is interest in that. And the
Like
reason we
the
recommended
motion.
number 2 is because it's the shortest commitment, the least capital, we still have the maintenance and it would fit that site potentially.
Can we break it down between parcel 1 and parcel 2?
There's actually,
Like,
you mean
site one
field
and site
1,
two?
2,
Yeah.
and 3?
Yeah.
If
Field
you
1,
want,
2,
okay.
3. I'll make a motion, we do program number 2 with field 1, 2, and 3. And so I'll just make that motion.
Okay, do we have a
Do you-
second?
Hold on, do you mean the top one?
Hold on,
or
116.
City
Hold
Hall?
on. We need a second first, or then we can have.
All right,
discussion.
I'll second it if it's what I think it is, but I'm trying to clarify the. motion.
Okay,
How about if we call parcel 1 and parcel 2? Is that?
Well,
Is it
that's what I
parcel
did
1?
say. Parcel 1.
You said fields 1, 2, and 3 was what I
Yes, the
heard.
No, that
the
was
top
the first
grouping.
time I said parcel 1.
Okay,
top grouping.
okay, I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So, may I make a motion on
Yeah,
parcel 2?
Hmm.
I'm gonna make a motion, we don't do anything with it because we don't have any idea what because that's all gonna be park. I don't wanna limit ourselves so we can do with the park plan.
So maybe this is something we send to the Parks group as they're working with HKGI.
seven months.
Yeah, and
I'll second it and then let's have the discussion.
Okay.
Jeremy.
So because we're doing city park planning now, maybe this is an item we bring to the Parks and Trails Commission for their input. If they see any value for any of the 4 fields identified, to take advantage of outside funding to complete some of that work, it could be a cost savings to the city and maybe an improvement in the quality of the park.
Staff have any thoughts?
I think that's a great idea, particularly in the direction that we're moving. If you look at field 4 on parcel 2 right now, a portion of that's already been kind of templated for additional green space for soccer fields.
Yep.
And so that's already kind of happening as the master plan is emerging. But that would just identify that as a key strategy to identify what to do with parcel 2.
So I would propose a friendly amendment to the
Still
motion.
not do anything but to bring it to the commission.
Yeah, to have city not take action now, other than to ask for advice from the Parks and Trails Commission.
yes, friendly amendment.
Accepted,
Yes.
friendly, second, good, accepted. Any other discussion?
May I have a clarifying question?
Sure.
So that's related to pursuing any grants, right?
On that
On
second
that site,
site.
okay, so maybe I'll ask my follow-up question. My follow-up question would be is, do you want us to plant that with like pasture mix now or just hold off this whole fall planting season. Maybe we can deal with that after. I just want, that was a clarifying question in terms of direction. The direction was no to pursue grants on those properties.
Just because of the
Then
commitment.
bring it to
towards
council
those
for
two.
ideas and then decide what, I think we can do it in our window. We just have to try to be precise or else we might have to spray or something next year, but we're trying to implement more of a permanent solution. Sorry if I.
No, so you want also, so within,
I think I mudded it up. I think we'll get Parks and Trails direction on if they want us to do anything with it, and then if they, once we get that direction, then I'll ask.
yeah, that's true.
So I think I mudded it up, so I'll withdraw that question.
Okay, did we vote yet?
Nope, we haven't. So
Okay.
I will call that. All those in favor say aye.
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 That's what I said, yeah, but it would probably be best done with the.
Yeah.
With some more guidance.
All righty. And then with that, we just have our 2024 city council schedule, which is in the agenda and subject to change, but there's some.
So the only point of clarification is we do have a work session scheduled for the next council meeting to discuss the Oswald Farms Business Park.
Yep.
Just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Thank you. And then with that,
I'm sorry, what was the date?
August 22nd.
August 27th.
Thank you.
There's nothing else. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Eric Kemp, second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Adjourned.